Resident Evil 3 is a game that entails many nightmarish creatures. From mutated insectoids to terrifying sewer monsters, these enemies are destined to leave a chill down your spine. So here is the lore of every Resident Evil 3 enemy. The drained Deimos were once normal fleas that became infected and mutated by the T-virus. Their only confirmed sighting was during the Raccoon City destruction incident, in which they were infected by feeding on blood from zombies. Like many other arthropods, the fleas responded to the virus by dramatically increasing in size, strength, and aggression. The creature's appearance is particularly grotesque due to the exposure of muscles brought on by rapid T-virus induced growth, which forces the creature to undergo repeated molts. These creatures reproduce by forcing an ovipositor into their victim's mouth after locking their grip around the neck, where they then deposit a large amount of their larvae. The parasites lie within the victim's stomach without killing them until they develop enough to explosively burst out from within, killing the victim instantly. Infection can be countered, however, by ingesting a green herb, which agitates the parasites until they're forcefully but safely vomited out. The brainsucker is an insect-derived irregular mutant similar to the drained Deimos. They were infected by the T-virus during the Raccoon City incident by feeding on infected hosts. Unlike the drained Deimos, this host was not a zombie, but another infected organism. This different manner of infection altered the virus enough that the parasites mutated differently, making its appearance distinct. The brainsucker also had two heads. Behavior-wise, the brainsucker acts the same as the drained Deimos, in that they both prefer to live in unclean environments. They are, however, slightly stronger and possess the ability to spit poison at their prey. If these creatures get too close, they will then break open its prey's head and feed on the brain with their tongues. Paleheads originated from test subjects that underwent a special mutation upon infection with the T-virus. They were first observed during the bioweapons combat data testing in Raccoon City's Nest 2 facility. Due to the unpredictability of them being created, the facility's shipping and processing manager, Gabrielle Reed, insisted weapons that could counter Paleheads be made available in the event of an escape. To reliably reproduce the mutation, the bioweapons research team requested Chief Irons to assist in the transportation of abducted humans to serve as these test subjects. When the T-virus spread across Raccoon City, the population of Paleheads were free to take over in the ensuing panic, along with other BOWs, and Nest 2's personnel were quickly massacred. Similarly to zombies, Paleheads have declined intelligence and visible deterioration of their bodies. Notably, their skin has decayed into a grotesque white mass that gives them their name. However, their mutation affords them powerful regenerative abilities and faster movement. Despite appearing to lack eyes, they have no apparent difficulty finding prey. The Hunter Gamma was developed based on information retrieved from the American branch's Hunter Alpha model. Contrary to the American design method, the Hunter Gamma involved human DNA being bonded with a fertilized amphibian egg and the T-virus. Though this method worked, the resulting creatures had several flaws that made them impractical for battlefield use, such as sensitivity to heat and their vulnerable mandibles being exposed when they attacked a target. In 1998, Umbrella ordered the destruction of numerous batches of this variant due to its perceived usefulness as a weapon. One researcher who had grown emotionally attached to the hunters defied this order and bribed a sewer manager in Raccoon City to allow him and some of his associates to move the hunters there to continue training and evaluation, where he hoped to prove their worth and bargain with Umbrella's European branch to continue development. Though they were docile and friendly to the researcher and his associates, they effortlessly and violently killed at least 2 random sewer workers that happened to stumble upon them. These hunters were still in the sewer during the Raccoon City incident. With an amphibian take on the Hunter series, the Gamma model has no eyes or teeth. Instead, it has a large mouth that allows it to swallow its prey whole, and small claws on their webbed hands to attack like other Hunter models. Like the Hunter Alpha, they possessed a modest level of intelligence that allowed them to be trained to be non-hostile to certain humans and possibly follow orders. Nevertheless, they became feral and hunt on instinct if left to their devices. This degree of intelligence has also allowed them to learn learn from their experiences, as they have completely learned the layout of the Raccoon City sewers within 2 days of exploring the vast underground complex. Due to their amphibious nature, they are exceedingly difficult to transport and maintain. Additionally, another factor that adds to their weaknesses is the fact that they cannot survive in dry air or heat for extended periods of time, and thus must be kept in strict watery environments only to ensure its survival. The Hunter Beta was developed to improve upon Birkin's Hunter Alpha work. Due to Umbrella's ability to clone BOWs at a low cost, they were free to continue making further genetic modifications to the Hunter Alpha, which focused on improving the Hunter's performance abilities. While its attack power was reduced in the process, its nervous system was improved, decreasing reaction time when being shot at. In September 1998, Umbrella was preparing final tests of the Hunter Beta before they could make the final decision on whether or not to mass produce it. Taking advantage of the situation in Raccoon City, approximately 20 of the Hunters were shipped to the United States and transported by truck into Raccoon City, where the Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Service and their monitors were to test and record the creature's performance. During their time in Raccoon City, the Hunters used the Raccoon General Hospital as a hunting ground, ripping apart anyone in sight. The Gravedigger is an irregular mutant resulting from an arthropod exposed to massive doses of the mutagenic T-virus. Once the T-virus contaminated the soil and infected underground dwelling organisms, the Gravedigger was quickly birthed. These creatures retain the ability to burrow underground and preferred a subterranean environment, though would surface if hunger overwhelmed their natural instincts. The size they could reach was so vast that it could destroy roads above in a manner comparable to an earthquake, as their burrowing left huge, vast, and unsupported tunnels underneath. The creatures also developed 4 long mandibles, which were used to drag prey into their large mouths. To make full work of their mandibles, they would attack by lunging or biting, using their huge bulk to force prey into a corner, where it can then be trapped and devoured. Former STARS officer Jill Valentine encountered a white gravedigger when the ground subsided, and found herself in the sewers it was burrowing through. Later, she encountered a brown gravedigger in Raccoon Park. Desperate for a supply of food, it had smelt out a group of zombies buried alive in the park cemetery. Its attempt to burrow under each coffin led to the ground collapsing, where it was then ultimately defeated by Jill. Sliding worms are the parasitic offspring produced by gravediggers. The gravedigger reproduces by laying eggs in the sewers and inside the ground, often in bunches of 100. Under these infected conditions, the eggs soon hatch, often in 2 hours, and the resulting creatures are sliding worms. These larvae are another kind of irregular mutant, usually growing to about 3 feet in length and possess sharp fangs, while also possessing an elastic, flexible body. These creatures thrive on blood, and when they spot prey, they will leap towards it with amazing jumping power and suck blood from it like a leech, sometimes as much as 1 liter. After being born, they will shed their skin many times in the course of their development. In the span of 1 week, they will be a fully formed gravedigger. Nikolai was a mercenary employed by Umbrella as a sergeant in the UBCS. In September of 1998, a catastrophic accident at Nest led to the contamination of Raccoon City by T-virus. The UBCS was deployed officially as a relief force to rescue trapped civilians, as police and military control of the city collapsed. This was, however, a cover for their real missions, which were to include the rescue of key Umbrella personnel, the destruction of incriminating or dangerous materials, and the collection of combat data from bioorganic weapons and irregular mutants. An unknown third party, aware of the UBCS purpose, made contact with Nikolai prior to their deployment, offering a bribe in exchange for his services. While outwardly following Umbrella's mission, Nikolai agreed to deliberately undermine their success. He also received a second set of instructions, offering a reward for the assassination of Jill Valentine. By the night of September 27th, he rendezvoused with Captain Mikhail Victor and his platoon. The platoon would suffer further losses on the 28th of September, when Nikolai locked a door on them to trap them with zombies. The platoon made their base at the Redstone Street subway station to transport refugees out of the city center. Nikolai ran into Jill after killing fellow mercenary Murphy Seeker, who was injured and potentially infected. He would later betray Jill and Mikhail Victor, leaving them with Nemesis when it attacked them on a subway train and escaped. No longer limited by the platoon, Nikolai was made free to carry out covert activities on behalf of both Umbrella and the rival company. At the Spencer Memorial Hospital, Nikolai verified the loss of life and destroyed information relating to the successful vaccine research, killing Dr. Nathaniel Bard in the process, who was a senior Umbrella researcher awaiting rescue. By the 1st of October, Nikolai was made aware of an imminent plan by the US military to blow up Raccoon City, and quickly made plans to escape the city with his data. Aware that the hospital was the facade for the Nest 2 bioweapons testing facility, Nikolai planned to travel through it on the way to a private heliport. While there, he confirmed Jill's recovery from her T-virus infection, and observed her combat with Nemesis. While preparing a helicopter for departure, he was then confronted by Jill and Carlos. After disarming and wounding him, Jill and Carlos then boarded the helicopter without him. While he offered to provide the identity of his buyer in exchange for rescue, his offer was refused. To this day, it still remains a mystery if he was able to escape the city in time. Nemesis Alpha, or the NEA type, was a parasitic species genetically engineered by Umbrella Europe. The Nemesis project's origins lie in the early to mid-1980s, when Umbrella was pioneering BOW development with the intention on supplying products that were suitable for the US military. The deciding factor on this was the issue of intelligence, rather than overall power, as a powerful BOW with limited intelligence would be unreliable. R&D projects which created the Chimera and Web Spinner were declared failures due to this issue. While the Cerberus and Hunter projects showed promise, each animal was only able to learn a few basic commands from their trainer, and as so were insufficient. Umbrella's bioweapons research began to move into Phase 3, with the creation of BOWs of human equivalent intelligence. The inspiration of the project was that of Las Plagas, a parasitic species present in regional Spanish folklore, which would hook itself to the spinal cord to control or influence the host, and break out of the neck to defend themselves if need be. The NEA were genetically engineered to mimic these qualities. The Nemesis project itself was overseen by Umbrella Europe, and aimed to complete Phase 3 research by developing an intelligent parasite rather than an intelligent and powerful organism. This parasite would then be placed within the head of an existing BOW and take over its mental functions as a replacement brain. Unfortunately, no BOW in 1988 existed which could survive this process, and all test subjects perished after some 5 minutes, perhaps alongside with the parasites themselves. The first successful attempt took place at the Arclay lab that very year, where Oswald E. Spencer personally ordered one to be shipped over. This experiment was indirectly part of the new Tyrant project, but as no such BOW had been successfully manufactured, the Nemesis parasite was instead implanted within the body of Lisa Trevor. Due to Trevor's unique physiology, which emerged from prior mutations, the parasite was rejected by her immune system and killed, with elements of its genome being spliced into Trevor's. After this occurrence, the Arclay lab made no further effort to obtain a second Nemesis parasite. The second successful implantation within an organism took place 10 years after the Trevor experiment in mid-1998, with the Tyrant project being successfully completed and the creation of a BOW of human-level intelligence. The Nemesis project was effectively a dead end, until a decision was made for an experiment to implant a Nemesis parasite into one of the mass-produced T-103 Tyrant clones. The resulting experiment, dubbed Nemesis T-Type, was sent out into Raccoon City, with orders to hunt down the last of stars, which would prove the parasite's mental abilities. No further work was done on the Nemesis project, and no further Nemesis T-types are known to have been produced. The EA Parasite Zombie is the result of Nemesis T-type infecting zombies with its very parasite. Upon being infused into a zombie's head, the NEA type would completely merge with the skull, encasing with its own biomass-like sort of helmet and controlling the rest of its body. For combat, the parasite can use its elongated tentacles to lash out at its victim up to medium range, or grab the victim to swallow their heads with its gaping maw. The parasite's tentacles can also be deployed defensively, owing to their considerable resistance against firearms. The Nemesis T-type was created with the successful implantation of NEA parasites within T-103 hosts, presenting Umbrella with a highly intelligent and powerful creature. When Umbrella got word of a T-Virus outbreak in Raccoon City, Umbrella Europe began shipping its BOWs over to the city to take advantage of the crisis. Per HQ's plan, the UBCS were to engage these BOWs, and monitors in the city were instructed to record the BOWs' combat skills to verify their reliability as military products. With Umbrella wanting vengeance for the destruction of T-002, Nemesis TO2 was given instructions to hunt down and kill all STARS members, of whom it was shown photographs of so they could be recognized. The creature was taken into the city by helicopter and provided with heavy weaponry including a rocket launcher. When the pursuer entered the city, only 2 STARS members were left, Brad Vickers and Jill Valentine. Nemesis first started with Jill by forcing its way into her apartment and then proceeding to chase her throughout the building. Ultimately escaping, Jill would traverse through the city and make it to the top of a building to be picked up by a helicopter. However, it was here Nemesis would return and shoot down the helicopter, where it would then approach Jill again. Ultimately ramming the creature off the cliff, Nemesis would take minor damage to his armor, revealing the grotesque face of the enemy. Luckily, just before Nemesis could get to Jill, Carlos had arrived and fired multiple rockets at the creature. It's here where we get to see how advanced and powerful the creature was, as it was able to catch the fired rocket and redirect it. However, the second rocket would make contact and temporarily shut down the creature. From there, Nemesis would continuously pursue Jill through Raccoon City, until she finally confronted it in a battle. Here she would quickly be able to shut the creature down, though it would return once more to sabotage the subway train from leaving town, and slaughter everyone on board besides Jill and Nikolai. After Jill witnessed the creature in flames running into the water, it then began to mutate into its second stage and chase after Jill, beginning another fierce battle with her. After taking heavy damage, the creature fell again, but only temporarily, as once Jill had her back turned to the creature, it then infected her with the EA Parasite, causing her to pass out. Much later on, Nemesis would follow Jill to Nest, and eventually confronted her and Tyrell when the two were looking for an antidote. There, the creature quickly pierced Tyrell through the chest and threw him back, tragically killing him. It then began to consistently pursue Jill throughout Nest, until Jill was eventually forced into a battle with the creature in order for Nikolai to collect combat data. Carlos quickly arrived and helped Jill halt the creature again, and filled the area with acid in hopes to rid the creature for good. However, it did quite the opposite. After being submerged in the extremely corrosive chemicals, the Nemesis mutates further and absorbs all other corpses present in the room, notably that of zombies and hunters. Here, the final battle would begin between Jill and the creature. After charging an experimental electromagnetic gun, Jill fired at the Nemesis and decimated the creature in the process, finally ridding Umbrella of quite possibly its deadliest creation. Click this video here to find out the lore of every enemy from Resident Evil 4. Also, if you would like to support the channel further, consider becoming a member today. Thanks for watching.